IELTS Band 9 Sample Essay.
Housing shortages affect many cities. What are the causes and what are possible solutions?
Welcome to my YouTube channel, IGCSE English Kingdom.
Enjoying the content? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more. If you found this helpful, share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching.
Housing shortages have become a serious issue in many cities around the world, leading to rising property prices and increased pressure on urban residents. This problem is largely caused by rapid population growth and insufficient housing supply, but it can be addressed through effective planning and policy reforms. One major cause of housing shortages is urbanization. As people migrate from rural areas to cities in search of better employment and education opportunities, the demand for housing rises sharply. However, housing construction often fails to keep pace with this growing demand. In addition, strict zoning regulations and lengthy approval processes can delay new developments, further limiting the availability of affordable homes. Property speculation also contributes to the problem, as investors purchase homes purely for profit, leaving many properties unoccupied. To address this issue, governments should focus on increasing the supply of affordable housing. One possible solution is to support developers through financial incentives, such as tax reductions or subsidies, to encourage the construction of low-cost homes. Another effective measure is to improve public transport systems. Better transport links allow people to live in areas outside city centers, which reduces pressure on housing demand in urban areas. Governments can also speed up building approval processes to ensure that housing projects are completed more quickly. In my opinion, solving housing shortages requires cooperation between governments and the private sector. By improving planning policies and investing in infrastructure, cities can become more accessible and affordable for residents. In conclusion, housing shortages are mainly caused by population growth, high land costs, and limited housing supply. With better planning, financial support, and improved transport systems, this problem can be gradually reduced. Band 7 Advanced Vocabulary. Housing shortages, lack of enough homes, affordable housing, homes at reasonable prices, population growth, increase in the number of people, urban areas, cities, housing demand, need for homes, limited supply, not enough available, building regulations, rules for construction, developers, companies that build houses, accommodation, place to live, financial incentives, money benefits to encourage action, low-cost homes, affordable houses, public transport, buses, trains, and other shared transport, city centers, central parts of cities, approval processes, official permission steps, private sector, businesses not owned by the government, infrastructure, basic systems like roads and transport, planning policies, government rules for development, housing costs, price of homes. Housing shortages have become a serious issue in many cities around the world, leading to rising property prices and increased pressure on urban residents. This problem is largely caused by rapid population growth and insufficient housing supply, but it can be addressed through effective planning and policy reforms. One major cause of housing shortages is urbanization. As people migrate from rural areas to cities in search of better employment and education opportunities, the demand for housing rises sharply. However, housing construction often fails to keep pace with this growing demand. In addition, strict zoning regulations and lengthy approval processes can delay new developments, further limiting the availability of affordable homes. Property speculation also contributes to the problem, as investors purchase homes purely for profit, leaving many properties unoccupied. To tackle housing shortages, governments must adopt a multi-pronged approach. Increasing the supply of affordable housing should be a top priority. This can be achieved by encouraging public-private partnerships and offering incentives to developers who build low-cost housing. Relaxing overly restrictive zoning laws can also allow for higher density developments, such as apartment complexes, particularly in urban centers. Furthermore, introducing taxes on vacant properties can discourage speculation and ensure that existing housing stock is used efficiently. In my view, long-term solutions require not only increased construction, but also better urban planning. Improving transport links between cities and surrounding areas can reduce pressure on city centers by making suburban living more attractive. If governments act decisively, housing shortages can be reduced, and cities can become more inclusive and livable. In conclusion, housing shortages are caused by rapid urbanization, limited housing supply, and regulatory barriers. Through policy reform, strategic planning, and increased investment, governments can effectively address this growing challenge. Housing shortages, lack of sufficient homes, urban residents, people living in cities, urbanization, movement of people to cities, housing supply, availability of homes, zoning regulations, rules controlling land use, lengthy approval processes, slow permission procedures, property speculation, buying property for profit, unoccupied properties, empty homes. Multi-pronged approach, strategy using several methods. Affordable housing, low-cost homes. Public-private partnerships, cooperation between government and businesses. Incentives, rewards to encourage action. Higher, density developments, buildings with many homes in one area. Housing stock, total number of homes. Urban planning, design and organization of cities. Transport links, connections such as roads and trains. Inclusive and livable, suitable for all people and comfortable to live in. Regulatory barriers, rules that limit action. Policy reform, changes in government rules.